The last has not been heard of the missing 35 million naira cash in the coffers of the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board Examination, JAMB. The money generated from sales of e-JAMB cards in Makurdi, the Benue State capital last year, was allegedly eaten by a snake. Call it voodoo if you will. An Abuja High Court presided over by Justice Peter Afeng has ordered the remand of 2 officials of JAMB over the missing cash. What does this mean to the anti-graft body in a case that suggests diabolical manifestation of sorts? Or is the war on corruption tightening? What more can be gotten from the JAMB officials? Did the snake swallow the money? Data feeds are coming through in one place simultaneously on all our social media platforms, channelstv.com and on youtube.com/channels, where you can follow us right now on m.channelstv.com and on Facebook as well. We've got all our social media platforms covered. Tweet at Gimba Umar CTV. Use the hashtag State of the Nation. Let's get your thoughts in. May 29th saw the inauguration of President Muhammadu Buhari and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at the Eagle Square in Abuja, as well as governors of the 29 states, where large crowds were recorded in Bauchi and in Imo State, both formerly APC-controlled states. What does this mean for the ruling APC and the opposition PDP, with more numbers of states to it today? We'll focus more on that and what was said at the inauguration, plus what can the governors do differently to improve the welfare of the people? It's prime time here in Lagos, and this is State of the Nation. Hello everyone in Nigeria and the rest of the world. I am Gimba Umar and this is State of the Nation. Let's begin with the inauguration of President Muhammadu Buhari and Vice President Osinbajo on May the 29th. As the tradition has been over the past inaugurations since 1999, a speech to Nigerians was the norm. This changed on May 29th, 2019, when President Muhammadu Buhari didn't give a speech after the swearing-in ceremony. Let's analyze the implications of this. Bishop Amakere, chairman of Young Progressive Party, as well as a lawyer, Emmanuel Anene, both join us from our Abuja studios. I want to thank both of you for coming on the show at this time. I must begin with you, though, Bishop Amakere. You're a stakeholder in this democratic dispensation as chairman of YPP, and you have indeed won a seat in the Senate. You were also in Abuja for the inauguration of President Buhari. Were you surprised he did not deliver a speech at his inauguration on Wednesday?
Thank you very much, Gimba Umar, and good evening, Nigerians. Well, I wasn't surprised, Gimba Umar, and why I say so is because thank you even for recognizing the fact that the YPP now has joined the mainstream, political mainstream in Nigeria. But because the masters of the game, as they call themselves, believe that some of us are actually not relevant to come and add values to what they are doing. You know, no any invitation was extended to the YPP. I don't know of the other political parties, but that is not a thing to worry about. My worry is the fact that Nigeria is really, things are really not working. And the truth is that, Gimba Umar, birthday and naming ceremony is not the same thing. The president took an oath of office, and Nigerians were expecting, we are not expecting him to give us any long speech. We're just expecting the president, whom everybody believes is the father of the nation, to at least set the pace for us. He should tell Nigerians the blueprint of what he is coming on board with. I mean, for the next 4 years, if actually he himself is, very confident that the election that he won really was legitimate. But I don't want to go into that. Lawyers will have their own way to, analyze that. The president, there are burning issues on the ground. Don't forget the fact that very respected people in the world, and I'm talking about people like Theresa May, who have made this transition that if care is not taken, in no distant time, Nigeria is going to be, the largest poverty capital in the world. These are burning issues. The same thing Donald Trump also said that with all the blessings that God has blessed Nigeria, enormous natural resources, gold, diamond, oil that we are depending on it today, that still, with all these enormous natural resources, that Nigeria is still an underdeveloped country. Still, the president do not think that he should make a statement on that day. And like I said, we were not expecting a long speech from the president, but all we wanted from the president is to at least be a pace setter and tell Nigerians, look, I have a blueprint of this and that. This is what I want to do in my next 4 years in the office. All these were not, they didn't come to play. And this continue to give me actually the doubt that indeed, we really do not have leaders in this country.
Okay, just give me a second or two, just so that I get the views, so I can get the views of Mr. Anene, who is also there with you. Mr. Anene, Mr. Mercury has called it burning issues on ground to which he expected that Mr. President will address. But in all of this, some have argued that President Buhari has already made very clearly what the priority areas of his administrations will be in 2015, which is the economy, security, and the war on corruption. Need he say that again in 2019?
Thank you for having me once again. Yeah, I think Mr. President's inability or failure to address Nigerians on the date of his second inauguration is an opportunity lost. In 2015, Mr. President gave an inspiring speech. I belong to everybody, I belong to nobody. In 2019, when President was re-elected again, he left Nigerian grouping in the touch, whether Mr. President is really prepared for the job ahead. If you look at what Obama said in his inaugural speech in America, he said, because of what you did today, on this day, at this expiring moment, he said, change has come to America. Every president in the world will use an inaugural speech to inspire the country, to inspire Nigerians. There is division in the country. Like for the first time in the history of Nigeria, United Nations issued a report that Nigeria has never been divided as it is under this administration. And Mr. President didn't deem it wise, didn't deem it necessary to talk to Nigerians, to mobilize leadership, to mobilize followership. That is what we needed on that day. My friend said they were not expecting a long statement. I'm expecting a detailed statement on how Mr. President is going to tackle economic problem in Nigeria, on how Mr. President is going to tackle security situation in Nigeria. Even Mr. President's home state has been taken over by bandits. And Mr. President didn't deem it necessary to talk to us, to inspire Nigerians to the fact that he is up to the speed, that he's going to bring Nigerians back to where Nigerians are supposed to be.
But there was one thing, if I may just chip in very quickly and ask you this, there was one thing that the president did say prior to the inauguration, that he will surprise those who refer to him as a slow president. How easy is it for him to set in place his cabinet in 2019, as he did in 2015, which took about 6 months?
That is what I'm talking about. We can't be begging our leaders to talk to us. If you go to America, where we borrowed this democracy from, presidential system of at any slightest opportunity, their president will use the opportunity afforded by that event to talk to Americans, to address America, to address burning issues. Now, Mr. President in 2015 did not appoint his cabinet up to 6 months. And if you see what is happening now, it's like nobody knows what is happening in Nigeria. There is no appointment, there is no announcement. Leaving Nigeria to be conjuncturally whether the shift or whatever is going to do has been shifted to the June 12th Democracy Day. And I didn't see anything about June 12th. I'm sorry, I'm very, very sorry to say this. As we speak now, no court in Nigeria has certified June 12th as valid. No court of law. Even the person that conducted June 12th election is no longer in the office. He's here. The federal court that conducted the election has been dissolved. So nobody in law, in the eyes of the law, has authority to validate what has been validated in law. There is no June 12th as far as we are concerned. We are just playing a wishy-washy politics with June 12th. Democracy Day is 29th May of every election year. That is what I'm saying. Supposing now, 29th May was a public holiday, Abuja was literally shut down for a military march past and just an oath of office that didn't last for 10 minutes. Now look at the economic situation in Abuja. Everybody was shut down, leaving the military.
Okay.
There's no role in democracy to take over the event.
If I may just jump in again and put you on hold for a minute or two and talk to Bishop Amakuri. Let me take you up from the point where you talked about the challenges that the president has to address, talking about the hydra-headed issue of security, corruption, war, as well as the economy. What would you say should be done in improving the key sectors? Because you've complained about them, but what should the president do, hitting the ground running, in terms of perhaps setting an agenda for him?
You see, like I said before, you need to have leaders that really work in tune with the aspirations of the citizen. And when you don't have such leaders, you absolutely not get any good result out of it. And I'm sorry to say this. It's quite unfortunate. And I keep saying this without any apology, any missing word, that as we speak today, the major problem that we have in Nigeria is about leadership. Leadership deficit is a major problem. So you cannot really give what you don't have. Gemba Umar, in 50 years, just within 50 years or thereabout, Nigerians have recycled two former head of state. Two former head of state, including the present president. Out of 180 million or 200 million population, are we saying that we really do not have competent hands that will come and fill the vacuum? If we continue to deceive ourselves that there is leadership in Nigeria, then Gemba Umar, we will continue to come back here and continue to talk on the same issue.
If I may chip in there also, if you say that it's a deception, a lot of people will beg to disagree with you, because the president has been very clear from the beginning. As a matter of fact, he's expressed his desire for true federalism just a couple of weeks back, and a better relationship between the judiciary and the legislature, judging from the past 4 years, especially the CJN's Assets Declaration controversy, which led to his removal at some point. The focus now is to establish a smooth, better relationship between the presidency and the judiciary. That, for many, is the way to go, wouldn't you say?
Look, Gemba Umar, whether deception or not deception, I stand my ground. And I maintain, without any apology or fear or favor, that we don't have leadership in Nigeria. And I stand that ground without any apology. Until
but you are
this
also
paradigm
but
shift
you are also part
for
you
take effect.
But if you say we don't have a government in Nigeria or leadership in Nigeria, you are part of a democratic system.
I didn't say
you are part of a democratic system. As a matter of fact, from the beginning of this show, I actually congratulated you for being a stakeholder now in the democratic process in the country. So you cannot exclusively say that we don't have a government or leadership in this country.
No, look, what I am not saying we don't have a government, whether we like it or not. If today the president is leaving office, that place cannot be a vacuum. What I'm saying, and I want you to understand, is that the leaders that we find today in the hands of affairs, of running the affairs of governance in Nigeria, virtually almost 80% of them are not competent. And I'm sorry to say this, but that is the truth. That is the truth. Because the disparity between these leaders and the citizen is very, very wild. And when you have leaders that do not have any, interest about the citizen, it's all about themselves, it's all about what they take home,
break,
it's all about their
Bishop Amakuri, indeed chairman of Young Progressive Party, YPP. I want to thank you for talking to us on State of the Nation.